ever wished you could get more out of your piano lessons? Does it sometimes feel like the lesson just flies by and you leave wondering if you really improved from last week or you're not sure what to do on your own? The good news is there are simple things you can bring to the table that will make a huge difference. Today, I'm going to share what your teacher is really hoping for. We're going to talk about 5 ways that you can be a great piano student. Things that you can do that will help you learn faster, get more out of every lesson, and enjoy your lessons more. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Great students don't try to hide their mistakes. When you come to a piano lesson, it's normal to feel kind of nervous. In some ways, a lesson is like a performance. You sit down, you play your pieces through while your teacher is listening closely, and of course you want to do your best. But here's the thing, your teacher isn't there to judge you. Your teacher's there to help you. A lesson is not an audition or a recital. Great students understand this. They don't feel embarrassed about mistakes or worry about impressing their teacher. If your teacher can clearly hear where the errors and your weaknesses are, then they can actually help you better. Trying to hide mistakes just hides opportunities to improve. Psychologist Carol Dweck wrote this wonderful book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. She talks about how mistakes are actually essential to learning. This is called a growth mindset, the idea that taking risks and making mistakes is how you grow. A piano lesson is an opportunity to bring the issues you're running into during practice to your teacher and show up, warts and all. You might be having problems playing evenly in a passage, or there might be a tricky spot that you just can't quite bring up to tempo, or maybe you're having problems coordinating your hands, or maybe you have a musical question about a phrase and where the top of the phrase is. Instead of avoiding that and trying to focus mostly on the parts that you can already play well, bring those issues straight to your teacher. That's the work that you can tackle together. Students will often apologize to me after a playthrough in their lesson, telling me it was better in the practice room and they don't know what happened, why that playthrough was so much worse, and that's okay. This just means we have things to work on. So don't try to hide mistakes from your teacher. It's okay to be vulnerable. Your teacher is there to help you. Another habit that makes a huge difference is being open to trying new things. One of the most challenging situations for me as a piano teacher is working with a student who can't or won't change the way they play something in a lesson. It could be because a student has learned something by rote and maybe they're stuck in a habit and physically unable to play something in a different way. Or it could also be resistance to experimenting with anything new. When your teacher suggests a new idea in a lesson, the best thing you can do right then and there is to try it out. Bring an attitude of openness to the lesson and try everything even before you've decided whether you like it or not. You can always change your mind later or just try it out and try it a few different ways and then tell your teacher what you think if it's not working for you. If you don't at least try, you'll never know what might work better. There's an excellent book on deliberate practice by Anders Ericsson called Peak: Secrets from the New Science of Expertise. He talks about how the people who make the most progress at their instrument, or really learning anything, are the ones who are willing to experiment, and they're willing to try new strategies and even embrace discomfort as part of the learning process. That openness, even to feelings of vulnerability and discomfort, is exactly what makes lessons effective. This idea of being open to new things carries over into your level of engagement in the lesson. From a teacher's point of view, one of the most frustrating things is when a student just sits there at the piano silently and waits for the teacher to fix everything. The best students show that they're listening and participate actively in the lesson. Ask your teacher for clarification when you don't totally understand something. Teachers love it when students ask questions. There are no dumb questions. A lesson is a two-way dynamic, and in my experience, it works best when it feels collaborative, where both the teacher and the student are working together to explore the music and solve musical and technical problems. Bringing that attitude of openness and a willingness to try new things to your lessons will make you a star student, and it will be much more enjoyable for both of you. Speaking of trying new things, I want to let you know about a new mini course that I've created. It's called Piano Lit, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Piano Lit is a 6-week, self-guided mini course designed to help you get familiar with a range of classical piano repertoire. It features a curated list of music to listen to for each week of the 6 weeks. Each module is organized around a theme with music chosen from across style periods to fit that theme. Each piece of music is accompanied by historical background and listening notes that I've written to help guide your attention as you listen. If you want to check it out, and I hope you do, I'll put a link to the course page in the description below this video. All right, we're talking about how to be a great student. Let's talk about how you show up. Great students are organized and proactive. They don't just wing it and hope for the best at their lesson. They come prepared with notes, questions, and goals. When you approach lessons with a clear sense of what you've worked on and what you want to accomplish in the lesson, you will make your time with your teacher so much more effective. It's super helpful to record your lessons and listen back later. When you listen back, take notes. Write down the strategies that worked in the lesson and write down the things that you still need to practice and that you went over. And then also notice the overall principles that you want to keep in mind, because this is going to reinforce what you've learned and it'll help you set specific goals for your week of practice. I still have a box or several boxes of DAT tapes from old lessons from grad school. So, I just have these boxes of tapes and they're from lessons where I would record the lesson and listen back. And then I also have this journal where I would write my notes when I listened to my own lessons or when I listened to a masterclass that I played in. And I found it really helpful over the years to flip back through and see what kind of patterns emerged and what things my teacher said that I had forgotten. Speaking of journals, keeping a practice journal is another excellent strategy. This is mine right now. I use it every day. It's just a page-a-day calendar, and I write in it when I practice, and it's very, very helpful. In a practice journal, you're going to write down what you practiced, how it went, and what you still want to improve. This act of tracking your practice gives your practice more structure, and it'll also give you something concrete to show your teacher if you want to share that. I've had students show me their practice journal when they've been feeling stuck or like they're not making progress, and then I can look at their practice with them and help troubleshoot what might be going on in their practice that they can change. I have one student who comes every lesson with a notebook where she's written down questions and spots that she needs help with. And as her teacher, I find that really helpful because we can then be sure to address her questions at the beginning of each lesson. It also gives me insight into how she's working on her own between the lessons. The best students come into a lesson having organized their thoughts, their understanding of that week's practice, and their questions. That proactive approach turns every lesson into a great learning opportunity. Of course, all of this works best if you actually come to your lesson prepared. That's why it's super important to practice consistently between lessons. Regular daily practice, even in small doses, makes your lesson time so much more valuable. When you think about it, your lesson time is really just a small fraction of your whole musical life. Maybe your lesson is 30 minutes or an hour, but the whole rest of the time, the other 6 days and 23 hours of the week, you're on your own. It's up to you to guide your own practice. I like to say that a student needs to learn to be their own best teacher, because when you practice, you're basically teaching yourself. Now, it can be tough to stay motivated and consistent in those in-between days. A lot of piano students fall into the trap of procrastinating during the week and then trying to cram all the practice in at once right before the lesson. I know it's hard, but I can tell you from the teacher's perspective, the students who make the most progress are the ones who practice every day. Even if they don't practice as much as they intended to, just touching the piano every day really helps. Research on skill learning backs this up. Whether you're learning a musical instrument or a language or any other skills, they found that a little bit of daily practice is far more effective than trying to cram before a deadline. In her incredible book, Learn Faster, Perform Better, A Musician's Guide to the Neuroscience of Practicing, Dr. Molly Gebrian talks about this. She talks about distributed practice, meaning short, regular sessions, and how there's research showing that it beats massed practice, which are really a description of long cramming sessions. If you can practice consistently and a small amount, rather than taking all that practice time and just cramming it into a couple days before your lesson, even if it adds up to the same amount of time, you will make better and more meaningful progress if you divide it up. Also, an important aspect of your practice involves building on what you actually worked on in your lesson the week before. Pay close attention during each lesson to the corrections and improvement that your teacher helps you with. Then, during your own practice, center your focus on those exact things. Do your best to practice them and completely resolve them so they are no longer an issue before your next lesson, so that you're moving forward instead of circling back over the same material and the same ideas over and over again. Coming prepared to each lesson demonstrates your commitment, not just to your teacher, but to yourself. It says, I value my time, I value this opportunity, and I'm ready to keep growing. Even if your progress isn't linear from week to week, which it really never is, progress goes up and down, even when you do practice every day. That's not the point. Even when your progress isn't linear, showing up to your lesson, having practiced every day, being warmed up, being focused and prepared will set you apart and make you a star student. Now, I think I speak for teachers everywhere when I tell you that another way you can be a great student is to bring positive energy to the lesson. And by that, I don't mean artificial positive energy. I just mean bring your wonderful, whole, positive self to the lesson. At the end of the day, piano lessons aren't just about music, they're about people. A lesson is an ongoing relationship, and in many cases, it lasts for years. Very few other learning experiences are like this. Most classes and courses come and go, but lessons continue over years through life's highs and lows. Over time, your teacher gets to know you, and you get to know your teacher. It's not uncommon for students and their piano teachers to develop a genuine friendship. I'm still friends with many former students of mine who've graduated from Butler University and gone out into the world, and those friendships are quite meaningful to me. The best students remember that their teacher is a person. They don't treat the lesson as simply a transaction where, like, I'm here to extract knowledge from my teacher, but instead they treat the lesson as a partnership. In that spirit, the energy you bring to each lesson really matters. Your teacher might have a full day of back-to-back lessons. And when a student walks in high spirits, excited to be there with good energy and a positive attitude, it brightens the whole room. Engaging that way will make you a standout student, and it will also make the lesson more productive and enjoyable, both for you and your teacher. And don't forget, we talk about practicing and working at the piano, but music is fun. It's joyful. We get to study the best instrument ever, but don't tell the other instruments I told you that. That sense of excitement, of curiosity and discovery is part of what makes lessons so rewarding. Remember that your mindset directly affects how you learn. It's much easier to retain knowledge and build skills when you feel upbeat and open. So when you walk into your lesson, bring not just your music and your weekly practice, but your positive energy too. In this video, I mentioned very briefly starting a practice journal. For a deeper dive on how to start a practice journal, check out this video right up there in the corner. I go into the details of what to write and how to get started. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it, subscribe to my channel, and share it with somebody who you think it'll help. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and happy practicing!